Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Minnesota Real Estate Show. Thanks for joining us. September the 14th, 2024. And again, this is the Minnesota Real Estate Show. We are live here at WCCO Saturdays from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Show is hosted by Mike Overson of Luminate Home Loans, Scott Wohlmering, myself, Ryan O'Neill of the Minnesota Real Estate Team and RE/MAX Advantage Plus. In studio, Steve Stalock with Win Home Inspection today. A lot to talk about. We appreciate you joining us as you're listening to the show. If you got questions, comments, thoughts, anything at all, feel free to interrupt us at any point. And again, we appreciate you joining us. We're here till 11. Scott, good morning to you there, bud.
Yeah, good to be here. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Like Ryan said, we'll go live here quickly. A lot to talk about. We kind of talked last week about the perfect storm that we thought was coming from a positive standpoint with the reduction in interest rates and obviously the lower amount of homes we've got in the market. So we'll talk about timing and when we see that it will kind of unfold. And then obviously we've got the man here, Steve Stalock. We'll talk about everything to make sure he's looking for when he does your inspection.
Yeah, Mike Overson, Luminate Home Loans. Again, Mike is off here today, but we do have a mortgage interest rate update in the first segment. So again, thanks for joining us, folks. Don't ever hesitate to interrupt. You got a question, comment, thought, a lot to talk about with the market here today. And
Parade Homes.
What's that?
Parade Homes.
Parade Homes, new construction. Steve, you thinking of a new construction home?
Oh, it'd be beautiful.
You, Scott, new construction. You love a nice new home.
Well, it's just me, so I might build one of those mini homes.
Yes, good. It is Parade Homes time. And here we go. We're going live on air again. 612-294-6949 is how you can join us at any point. Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Minnesota Real Estate Show. Appreciate you joining us and hope your Saturday is starting off well. This is the Minnesota Real Estate Show here on WCCO. It is hosted by Mike Overson of Luminate Home Loans, Scott Wohlmering, and myself, Ryan O'Neill of the Minnesota Real Estate Team and RE/MAX Advantage Plus. We appreciate you joining us. And again, this is a live show, local, and we welcome your interaction anytime throughout the show. 612-294-6949, 612-294-6949 is how you can join us by phone or text anytime throughout the show. Scott, good morning to you, buddy.
Yeah, good to be here. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Like Ryan said, this is the Minnesota Real Estate Show. We are live and local here in Minneapolis. Love your comments and questions during the whole show. 612-294-6949 is how you can call in if you'd like to be on air, or you can text us any of your questions through the show. We're going to talk a little bit about the Parade Homes. That is second week now and is humming out there. Also, kind of what we talked about last week about the perfect storm, which is a positive perfect storm coming with less homes on the market, lower interest rates. We think we're going to see kind of a boom going there, so we'll talk about that. And then obviously any of your questions.
Yeah, again, 612-294-6949 is how you can join us here at the Minnesota Real Estate Show. We'd like to do on the first segment of the show a mortgage update and a real estate update as well. From a mortgage standpoint, we have seen rates slowly tick down over the summer, now really into the low sixes. Kind of generally speaking, low sixes for, again, that 30-year fixed rate.
We hit 7.5 almost 90 days ago, right? Or
Yeah,
80
so
days ago.
So slowly but surely seeing those interest rates come down. People buyers are feeling it. In talking to Mike and others, some refinancing happening as well with the lower interest rates as well, Scott. That's been a welcome, very welcome for
Yes.
Agents, buyers, everyone here this summer.
It is, and it's you can kind of tell. It'll be interesting if Steve comes on just to see kind of what his activity level has been. But there's definitely an excitement that's going out there. I mean, think about it. We were at 7.5 ish 90 days ago, and now we're hovering around 6.25. I've heard some FHAs even have jumped into the high fives with perfect credit. that brings so many more people back. I mean, nationally, it said if we drop into the fives, anywhere into the fives, that we add about 11 million buyers to this market, and that's what we want. We want lower inventory. I think that we've had enough time where people are. They're not going to. I don't think the market is going to put up with another massive increase in home value. So I think we've had this kind of settle back. Now we're going to have interest rates drop low. So the concern always is, well, if my home's 400, then it's just going to be 475. Well, that's what happened in 2022. I don't think we're going to see the market accept that this time. I think we're going to see affordability being more important to the buyer. And so I think home prices are going to stay relatively stagnant. They'll go up a little bit just because of rates. But I don't think we're going to see that big jump again where it's always putting people on that teeter of not liking what they're buying and not liking what their payment is.
Yeah, let's share here in the first segment an update from a real estate standpoint. We get this information, by the way, from our friends at the Minneapolis Area Realtors, the Minneapolis Area Association of Realtors. This is a weekly market activity report comparing year-over-year numbers. So new listings or new homes for sale down a little over 10%. There were 1,096 new properties that came on the market. Pending sales or accepted purchase agreements on homes for sale down also as well, about 8.5%. So 8.5% less accepted purchase agreements. The inventory slightly increasing, almost 13% more homes. We're at 9,842. So almost 10,000. And then days on market. Days on market is what a lot of the agents and brokers in our market are talking about. Days on market has increased. The days on market right now is average days is 36, and that is up 24%. So a 24% increase for days on market. That is still historically very, very low. But again, because most recently agents, brokers, sellers have not felt that, it feels uncomfortable.
That's right. Well, and again, 36 days on market, you got to remember, if you remove, if you remove new construction that has been on the market for 180 days, 2 years, sometimes 2.5 years, if you remove new construction, I would say that our average time on market is probably closer to 45 to 60 days for an existing property because new construction kind of skews that. And the big difference now is, again, with limited inventory like this, the only reason 45 and 60 days is there is because you're chasing a number that doesn't make sense. Back in 2007, when we had 35,000 homes, you only got 3 showings over 4 months because there was no buyers out there. Now there are a ton of buyers. So if you're not getting activity on your listing, there is one reason you're not, and that's price.
Yeah.
That is 100% the reason, because there is a huge pent-up demand of buyers, meaning they're seeing your home. They're just not showing it.
Yeah, I had a text message question come in saying, guys, how are you feeling? What are you seeing with the changes since the big lawsuit? Maybe after the break, we will touch specifically on that. Again, you can join us like the last texter as well. 612-294-6949 is how you can join us at any point. Got to give a nice shout out to Miss Jennifer Ritzman today. She's a great agent on the Minnesota real estate team. Today is her birthday.
Happy birthday, Jen.
So very happy birthday to Jennifer. Jennifer's son, Carl, is an agent on the team. They are a wonderful family. Hopefully, Jen, you're able to do something fun today to celebrate. But very happy birthday to you. This is the Minnesota Real Estate Show on WCCO. Again, 612-294-6949. We'll be back after the break.
We're fortunate that our daughters have what they need to grow.
Well, thanks everybody for joining us. Thanks everybody if you can join us. Appreciate you joining us on social media. Good topic today, Steve. Thanks for waiting so patiently. The whole segment we're talking right between here.
Hey, but interest rates are always fun to talk about.
Yeah, interest rates.
Accounting, interest rates,
Days on market.
home inspection.
Oh yeah, we just are, excitement.
Water. I always think, whenever I think of home inspections, I just think about water in basements in Minnesota. Such a wet year.
Yeah.
I don't know the numbers historically, what we're looking at, but I mean, do you see that a lot? How often in
Oh,
your
yeah.
inspections? Is it half of your inspections that you notice water damage?
Well, if you look closely, a house of 10 years in age or more, you're gonna see it
Yeah.
almost every time. It's just, is it an issue is a different question.
Yeah,
Good
I get a kick out. I've got a few clients right now that we're showing, it's older homes, 1960s, 1970s and so on. And, every house, oh my gosh, they've had a leak here. I'm like, every home that's 40 years old has had a leak. So yeah, you're gonna see leaks in the ceiling. Well, when did that happen? Could have happened 40 years ago.
Actually, they're not always leaks either.
Yeah.
So inspection I had yesterday, I talked to the potential home buyer in advance. Do you have any concerns? Well, there's some staining on the ceiling. I'd really like you to check it out. Well, it was that telltale little moisture ring around the exhaust fan in the bathroom.
Okay.
And that's not a roof leak. What's going on is all the air, moist air, is infiltrating from inside the bathroom and finding its way between the sheetrock and the metal box of the exhaust fan.
Yeah.
And over time, it condenses and leaves a ring.
Hmm.
So once you understand the science and what's going on inside the building, then you understand, okay, it's not a roof leak, it's this. And now you know what to do.
Are you a Night Ranger fan?
Conversation we had off air.
Yeah,
Night Ranger. What's the
yeah.
guy's name again?
Kelly Geeky.
Kelly Keegy.
Kelly Keegy.
And he was the drummer.
Drummer.
And you met him where?
He was selling his house. I really prefer not to talk about it.
Yeah.
I have some clients. I don't like dropping names.
No, that's fine. No, you shouldn't have done that.
Sorry.
Ryan, geez.
Is Night Ranger? Did they do the song "Night Games"?
I don't know.
I
If
think
you
it was
don't,
Foreigner.
It was Foreigner, yes.
Foreigner. Not that, hey, you're in my
That's the
wheelhouse.
I love
for me.
it. That's
hey, I gotta give a nice shout out. This past week, I saw a couple with our team, the Minnesota real estate team. We do kind of some. We recognize sales when people sell things. I noticed Miss Julie Harris had two big ones, two very nice sales. She's working hard. She's doing a great job, Scott.
she's a great
She's
agent.
a sweetheart.
Well, that's one of those. It's one of those agents where you buy a house with her, and then you're like, God, I wish I could buy another house so I could work.
I
with,
know,
so I
you
could
love
work with
her.
Julie again.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep, that's a good sign. But congratulations. That's very cool. But yeah, it is interesting with the water damage, though. It just seems like that is so common.
Yeah, and most of the issues start outside. So I'll have a conversation, setting up an inspection appointment with a potential buyer, and they're really worried about water in the basement.
Yeah.
And then I start asking questions about what's going on outside, and it's like 99% of the time there's, plugged gutters, no downspout extensions, bad grading, all sorts of things like
Okay.
that.
Yeah. Here we go. We're going back live on air on News Talk 830 WCCO. Appreciate you joining us, everybody, on social media, wherever you're seeing us. I hope your weekend's going well so far. Here we go. We're going live. Welcome back to the second segment of the Minnesota Real Estate Show. Hope your weekend's going well, everybody. It's a little bit rainy here in downtown Minneapolis, but we are into September. Hard to believe. September 14th. We're past Labor Day. Had a texter question ask about the changes in our industry. Scott, I'll give maybe my short answer, then you could comment. So there was the big lawsuit, the big commission lawsuit earlier this year in the real estate industry. Changes have happened now, August. And now we are in a new market, a new business market. What I've noticed is it's really been a little bit of business as usual. People are buying homes. People are selling homes. Buyers and sellers are paying commissions to real estate brokers and to real estate agents. There are some additional conversations happening with consumers about the process, about commissions, of how things work. There are some new documents. But Scott, the reality of it, life has kind of continued on. There are some sources of frustration with a few different wrinkles, but by and large, life has continued.
Yeah, you're much sweeter than I am. It is there is no change. I mean, literally no change. All that's happened is somebody got involved in the free market. Now we've got additional paperwork. And now the only positive, like you said, the only positive thing that I think has come out of this is there is a deeper discussion
Sure.
about how the commissions are split. Now, personally, I've had those discussions forever, but not everybody has. So, it used to be a seller was at 6% or 5.5% or 7% or whatever they listed their house at. Well, of course, that seller understood that's what they were paying. So the frustration when this came out was, I guarantee if you talk to one of my sellers, you're never going to find a seller that did not know what their commission was. But with the split, it is good for them to understand that they do have an option. They always had. Do have an option to pay less on the buyer side if they choose,
Or pay nothing.
or pay nothing, which they always had that choice. So the description of how it is and the reason why they would be paying the 2.7, I believe it's a huge disservice to the seller to not be paying up 2.7%. And my only concern when this came out is I hope agents are not protecting their side of the commission to hurt their seller. Meaning, and I've said this on the show, if you are a seller, the question you want to ask your listing agent is, what are we paying out the buyer? We're going to pay 2.7 if that's fine with you, Mr. and Mrs. Seller. Yes. Okay, now let's talk about the total commission, because that is the most important side of it.
Yeah, good point, Scott. Good point. 612-294-6949 is how you can join us here at any point. Had another comment. This is a good one, that I'm a first-time buyer in thinking about buying a duplex. I like the idea of purchasing and collecting some rent as well. That's a really, it's a really good.
Well, you called the right show, because that is literally how Mr. O'Neill cut his teeth in real estate.
Yeah, in 2001, I bought a duplex. I was renting from my dear brother Timothy, living in the basement, Steve. Living in the basement down there,
Sounds
in the
exciting.
dungeon. My little twin bed.
You could be really noisy, play your music.
Yeah, the O'Neill brothers playing, living down there. And I kind of woke up one day. I said, maybe it's time to move out of my brother's house.
So he called the real estate and he called me and said,
Yeah, I did call you, Scott.
hey, can you help me buy a duplex?
Yeah, buy a duplex.
I said, I'm sorry, you're not qualified.
So what's good about that, though, is when you're buying as a first-time buyer, you can use an FHA loan. So you can do 3.5% down. So again, it's not like conventional where you need 5, 10%, 20%. Actually, now conventional, there's some conventionals you can do 3%. But a lot of times first-time buyers use FHA. But the good thing about a duplex or 3-unit or 4-plex is you can own or occupy it, live there, but then also collect rent. So for example, I lived in the basement, or not in the basement, in the main level. And then upstairs, my friends Willie and Anita were paying $900, and that almost covered my mortgage.
Yeah. So
as a someone looking to get in real estate, it's not a bad option, Scott.
it's an incredibly good option. It is. And back then, I remember I sold a lot of duplexes back in the early 2000s, 2001, around that range. The FHA ARM back there was almost a 2% gap that doesn't exist anymore. So what I mean is, if interest rates were 5%, you could do an FHA ARM that could only move on you 1% a year, and you would start it at 3%. And so from an investment standpoint, if you're going to buy a duplex and you're only going to live in there personally for maybe 3 years, 4 years, and then you're going to keep it as a rental, it was a very, very good tool, because obviously you cash flowed a lot and you paid for your rent.
This is a good one, guys. Kimmy says, should I do a 30-year mortgage or a 15-year? I hear so many schools of thought of paying down that mortgage as quickly as I can. I don't know. What do you think, guys?
I'm a firm believer, because I lived through 2006 through 2013, that you do a 30-year loan. Now, if your goal is to pay it off, don't make extra payments. Make 2 payments. Make the same payment twice a month, which cuts off your interest rate. I believe it takes a 30-year down to 18 years, and it takes a 15-year down to 11. So you basically you do the same thing. The reason for that is, in a tough time where you don't want to have the extra $700-800, whatever it is, on a 15-year, you have the option of not paying that. The other option is during a tough time like that, where you can't access your money in the house because values have dropped. It's just always better to be able to control your cash flow. And when you're on a 15-year, it's not controlled. That's the payment you're making. And if you can't make it, which I saw a lot of people lose their house, you lose your house.
Yeah. I think the reason a lot of people do it is reducing interest. They say, I don't want to pay so much interest. I want to obviously not have the liability, kind of the peace of mind. I don't want the mortgage. The other thing I would mention too, I've seen it sometimes with whether it's owners, but their own house or rental property, where they've tried too aggressively to pay it down, and then the furnace goes out at Christmas time, and you get the text, which will happen as a landlord. That happens. You need to have the $4,000 or the $3,500 to do it. Steve, what do you think there, buddy? I know this is not in your wheelhouse, but any thoughts, pro, for, against?
Get a good financial planner. I mean,
Sure.
Scott's got great financial planning advice, and you need to get someone on your side to guide you through decisions like that. Maybe it'll change over time.
Yeah, there is. I think it's my answer without being too Switzerland is I think it does depend on your personal situation and what you're comfortable with. Because I do know some people who just say, look, I don't like the idea of having a mortgage.
Yes, Mr. Walmart, who's he?
Or you're thinking
Walmart.
of,
I'm thinking, you know what I'm thinking.
no, you're thinking of Berkshire Hathaway, Warren
Warren
Buffett.
Warren Buffett.
Warren Buffett.
Warren Buffett says do a 30-year loan. It's the only loan that is fixed for 30 years, will not change. Incomes change, they go up, that payment stays the same.
Time value of money.
Yeah, time value of money. So I think for most people, again, you can always make the 15-year payment. So just if you want to do 15 years, do a 30-year loan and then put it on an amortization of 15 years.
What if we have Warren call in?
You know, he does all the time. I actually have him go through my assistant. It got so
Josh?
annoying.
Let me ask Josh here. Josh, you can join us. Josh,
Yeah.
do you think we could get Warren on the phone?
As long as I get a contact number, we're good to go.
Josh is a good sport.
Send them a tweet.
Send him a tweet. Scott, what do you got, buddy?
I was just going to say before the break, the Parade of Home, Parade of Homes is going on right now. It is great. I actually spent yesterday pretty much going through everything in the South,
Okay.
and I actually do have a favorite. The favorite that I have,
Favorite home on the parade?
favorite home for value that I saw in the parade.
Wow.
This one is actually number 113. It is a Country Joe 2-story.
Okay, tell me about it.
It's 9943 189th Street West, but it's number 113 in your book. And it's in the Preserve in Lakeville, which is their last edition they've got coming up. It's from pricing in there is from $750 to $1.2. This particular property, I think was $1,014,000. It was a 6-bedroom. All bedrooms upstairs had their own either private bath or Jack and Jill. There was a main floor. I can't say that word anymore because I'm going to say it anyways. Mother-in-law suite. I know there's a PC way of saying it,
Okay.
but basically an in-law suite on the main level.
Okay.
That was off. It was a beautiful lot, $1,014,000. Forgot the square footage, but that one stuck out to me as a great one. Country Joe and Jen Thompson is the listing agent there that represents Country Joe.
Yeah, very nice. Very nice. We're talking to, again, Steve Stalock, Win Home Inspection. Welcome your questions, comments, thoughts, 612-294-6949. One other quick question before the break. Seeing staging, are you seeing more staging on active listings, Scott? Have you seen more in showings or
No.
not as much?
I haven't. I haven't seen it, but I think we will. A lot of vacant houses. When you get time on market going forward, obviously situations change. People are moving out. They have to make their home they have to move their furniture out. So I'm seeing a lot of vacant homes. Vacant homes do not sell very well. So I think we will probably see some staging coming back, but I have not seen it overall.
Yeah, again, 612-294-6949 is how you can join us at the Minnesota Real Estate Show. We're at the halfway point. After the break, we're going to dive in deep with our friend, Mr. Steve Stalock, Win Home Inspection. Feel free to interrupt us at any point. We are a local real estate team all over Minnesota, Western Wisconsin. We help people buy homes, sell homes.
Florida.
In Florida, too,
Yeah.
actually, invest in real estate. Feel free to reach out to us anytime. We're happy to help you, your family, friends, in any way we can. This is the Minnesota Real Estate Show. Thanks for joining us on social media. Steve, good work, young man.
Hey, it's always interesting. I learn a lot about real estate just by hanging out.
30-year fixed. Anything you're seeing in your inspections? Any thoughts, tips for existing owners, new buyers, strategies to share?
Well,
As I put you on
number
the
one,
spot.
yeah, get an inspection.
Yeah.
Don't waive it. At least we're back into a market where it's not so insane.
Yeah.
What was it, 2 years ago?
Yeah.
2022.
Yeah, it was tough, and buyers, basically, if you wanted to win an offer, you had to waive the inspection. So get the inspection. I encourage my clients, if they want to show up,
Yeah.
they can be there at the beginning, middle, end. Just be there. It can be a little boring, but that way we can have conversations and you can learn.
Sure.
And it happens a lot to me where I'll explain something, say in that first hour, and then an hour and a half later, you can just see their mind processing, and then they'll have a really good question about what it was that I talked about earlier. So get there, absorb the information, ask questions.
So when everybody was waiving their inspections for 2022 and part of 2023, would you have rather had a 15-year mortgage or a 30-year mortgage?
Good point.
That's my point.
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
it gives you the flexibility of not having to pay that extra $1,000 every month.
Well, that was a good thought, Scott.
During a time where it's a little tight.
During that time, I was getting the common phone call. So obviously my business kind of dipped.
Sure.
But I would get that phone call, Steve, we're closing on Friday. We're gonna be moving our stuff in over the weekend. Can you show up on Saturday morning and inspect it and tell me what I got myself into?
Yeah. When you
That-
did, there was a dip in the
Yeah,
business.
so during that time when everybody was waiving inspections, first time home buyers, they'd win the bid
Yeah.
And then they
and
want to know what they're
they
doing.
wanted, the smart ones would hire me to come in and it's like, well, here, this, they'd learn about the house versus, hey, live in it for 3 years and then slowly you discover, oh, that's broken, this is not right, so I was getting a lot of immediately right after closing before they moved in all their furniture. I was coming in at that time to inspect.
Well, and during that time, and again, until 2022, except for a couple new construction homes, I never had a client ever not do a home inspection. And I'm a big believer in having it on a new construction home prior to the punch list walkthrough.
Yeah.
So I'd never seen that happen. During that time, it was happening all the time because, like Steve said, you could not literally get into a house. But in all my years of doing this, I've only had really 2 homes that were in the $5,000 to $10,000 to $15,000 range. I mean, you can still see if the windows are cracked.
Sure.
You can still see if the foundation's shot.
Yeah.
I mean, you can see if the roof is shot. I mean, there are big ticket items that you can still see without an inspection. But to your point, the biggest advantage to an inspection obviously is finding something that is major unseen, but also educating the buyer on how everything works.
Yeah, because people don't know.
They don't know.
You're buying a home, you don't understand. And I think it is hard. You do think about all the people that bought with no home inspection. And I deal with a lot of the issues that come up on transactions. And oftentimes, there are issues where they purchase and they find something 6 months later. Did the seller know about it? Was it not disclosed? Other disclosure issues.
An interesting thing that I know we're up like getting back on the break, but that I never tracked. But I thought that we would have so many more mediations.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, not mediations, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
During that
arbitration.
time, lawsuits during that time. Yeah.
Yeah. Here we go. We're going back live on air on CCO. Hope your weekend is going well. Thanks for joining us on social media, wherever you're finding us. Thank you. Welcome back to the second half of the Minnesota Real Estate Show. We appreciate it, and we hope your weekend is going well, everybody. Hopefully you're able to get outside, enjoy the weather, enjoy the Minnesota cabin life. Scott, we were talking about cabin life today, how much you love
I love it.
cabin life. You and your dear father, Larry, would go on the boat, fishing a lot in summers. Yeah, fun, man.
Well, I grew up in Bemidji, so we had a lake home there that we had since I was in 4th grade, and then when the kids were younger, we had a lake home in Wisconsin. I loved it. And Ryan's more of a non-lake home guy. He likes to be in the action and here and not sitting on a boat. But his lovely wife Kathy is like, that's perfect because she likes the lake, and then you're not there.
Actually, guys, I went fishing. Was it a weekend ago or 2 weekends ago with my nephew Will?
He had to bait your hook.
He said no. He said, Uncle Ryan, do you know how to fish? I said, of course. My dad loved fishing. Dad loved to go. He had 4 or 5 really close, longtime friends. They would go up every summer for like a week.
Canada.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I forget where it was, but Dad loved it. Dad loved going up there with his good friends, Jack Witt and Don Chirek and a variety. Bob Goggins, I think, went. But Dad always loved that too. Steve, you a fisherman?
I love it. Haven't fished much over the past few years, but yeah, over my lifetime, it's a very wonderful, peaceful way to spend a day.
Had a text about credit scores. How can I build my credit? I need to start building credit.
Credit Life. Call
Yeah.
call Credit Life. Jared Havens, the owner, they have done wonders for my clients. And it does not take as much time as you think it does. Most of it's cleanup. Most of it's getting things back on track. But I've had scores go from in the 5s into the mid 7s within 6 months.
Yeah.
And then over 725 is great credit. You can buy whatever you want with whatever rate they're offering. So, but yeah, Credit Life, CERDILIFE.
Yeah, part of it, just tips is, for young people is getting a little credit card, and that has a small limit on it, and starting to pay that. With credit, sometimes we'll see people, younger folks, who have, hey, we've done everything right, okay. We've been working hard, doing all these things, built up a little money to buy our first home, and they have no credit history at all. So in order to buy a home, you need credit history. You need to show on your report that you owe someone money and you are paying it responsibly. And that's hard for people because sometimes they want to buy a home and Mike Overson says, hey, you're great, but you don't have any credit history at all.
Yeah, and that is the bad thing with a computer generated system now. Back in the day, if I had a 25-year-old that put $200,000 away living in his parents' basement, had his car paid for, didn't owe anything,
Or brother's basement.
and wanted to buy a house, they did manual underwriting, and they said, of course, this person's a good risk, and we're going to give them a loan. Now they plug it in, and it kicks back. Sorry, don't have your credit, so you need to go get in a little debt.
Yeah.
I know you haven't at this point, but please go out and get a little bit of debt. And that way we can give you a home. It's backwards when you think about it, but unfortunately, that's the way the world works.
Yeah, and so again, obviously, responsibly paying your $200 limit credit card or whatever it is, or just creating a couple lines. Maybe you have a car that you're leasing. A variety of different things that shows responsible payment. Then you can go to a lender and say, hey, here's the deal. And here's the other thing. I mean, Scott, we've seen people all across the board filing bankruptcies, foreclosure, different situations that, hey, life happens. We get it. We understand it. There is light at the end of the tunnel, though. Sometimes just saying, look, all right, it's a new day. I'm going to try to do something positive. It doesn't mean immediately you can buy a home, but it's not the kiss of death that you're gone forever.
Well, yeah, and you can't throw a rock in a group of 10 people and not hit 3 of them that wasn't through a bankruptcy or foreclosure, because
Right.
52% of all of our sales between 2007 and about 2012 were bank-mediated sales. That means the person either lost their house, went into foreclosure. Normally, if you're doing that, you're going to do a bankruptcy because you're cleaning it up. So not everybody, a lot of people have been in that situation. So if you're there, don't feel bad. I would say, like Ryan and I say all the time, get proactive. Don't sit with your head in the sand saying this sucks and I know my credit's not good. Get with the professionals that can advise you. That's what they do. They're not judgmental. I mean, they just want
Mike's
to.
good.
Yeah, Mike's great. Mike's great.
Mike is very good, very good. We've joked with him as the hardest working man in mortgage. That guy, the Tom Brady of mortgage. Steve Stalock, Win Home Inspection. What do you got for us today, bud? We were talking a little bit before the show. You shared a couple terms with me I was unaware of.
Yeah. Well, one thing I like to do is provide a lot of education to my clients. And I've had a lot of inspections lately of homes that are older than 20 years, 30, 40, 50-year-old homes. And in particular, one thing that passes houses by is electric code requirements. So there's some safety things that are now built into brand new homes that if you have a house built in 1960, it doesn't have. And a couple of those things I mentioned to you before the show, one is ground fault, interrupt circuit, and the other is arc fault. And these are things that help prevent or protect you against your own human nature. So
Tell me more.
so ground faults, those came in about the 70s as a requirement in places where you could plug in an appliance and then go stand in a puddle or drop it into a bathtub or a sink. And those help prevent electrocution or shock. So you'll see the receptacles that have a little push button, catch and reset. So if you have an older home, you might not have those. So it'd be a good idea to upgrade. But that's one of them.
Is that call your local electrician? to
You
do that?
should, yeah, with all these things to do an upgrade, definitely hire a good qualified electrician to do these things.
Yeah, you don't want to stand in a puddle and drop a hairdryer to check it out.
Yeah.
That is
No,
not what we're
no.
saying here. Get a professional.
Yeah,
Get a professional.
Deep thoughts.
the other
on
thing
the
with,
Minnesota Real
with
Estate
that,
Show.
I do see a lot of do-it-yourself. Oftentimes I'll open up an electric panel and I was like, oh yeah, Johnny homeowner went down to Home Depot and stuck in all this stuff, and you shake your head sometimes. So yes, hire someone who knows what they're doing and is qualified. But ground fault is one, and that helps protect against electrocution. Those are going to be protecting everything outside in your garage, kitchens, bathrooms, laundry rooms. There's a lot of places where those get put. The other is an arc fault, and arcing is the term might imply is when sparks are jumping, from one side of the electric circuit to the other, and that shouldn't be happening. And there's different scenarios that can cause that, but arcing can cause fire. And arc fault breakers are designed to realize something not normal is happening, and that'll immediately
Shut
trip.
it down.
So newer houses have those. Basically, those started to get phased in the early 2000s.
Okay.
And now, if you build new construction, you're pretty much looking at almost everything through the house is going to be either ground fault or arc fault protected.
Yeah, new construction. Why though an inspection on a new construction home? Is it because things may be done incorrectly, Steve? Or
That or not quite finished. I've got, for the most part, I do a fair number of them, and it's going through and just validating that things work and things are hooked up. But I've had a couple of times where I can't remember. I think it was Chanhassen. You couldn't see from the ground, but I got up on a roof, and there was a whole section of the siding behind the garage roof. You couldn't see it from the ground. There was no vinyl siding installed at all.
oh wow,
I was like, how about this, guys? So there was missing siding. I've also done.
Sorry to interrupt. You did one for me that there was no insulation at all in the attic.
Yep. So,
None.
and that was a complicated house, had 2 or 3 or 4 different attic spaces, and it was an attic space around a corner, and they just didn't get to it.
Yep.
And so I see that kind of thing. I've also done some 1-year anniversary inspections, so at about that 10 or 11th month. And this was a very reputable, not big box builder, south suburbs builder. And I got up on the roof, and there was a nice 12-inch hole.
wow.
Big opening and hole in the roof. What had happened was, obviously the builder had a subcontractor do the roof. It must have been beer 30 on Friday when they finished the roof, and they didn't have enough ridge vent covers, the big boxes at the peak of the roof. No one went back on Monday to put it in, and the people have been living in the home for a year. Big 12-inch hole on the top of it's like, wow. Yeah,
it's
so
just kind of
that
the humans.
stuff, good reputable builder, but mistakes get made.
Before I forget, people, how can they connect with you, Steve?
My number is 952-891-4455, but by far the best way is to get on the Minnesota Real Estate Show website, mnrealestateshow.com, and go to the preferred partners, look for the home inspectors, and click on that handsome bald guy.
That's
me.
you.
That's
Handsome
me.
bald guy.
HBG.
Steve Staylock, Win Home Inspection. Appreciate you, Steve. We're up against the final break at the Minnesota Real Estate Show. Throughout the week, 612-294-6949. We're live here on WCCO. Thanks everybody for joining us. Really good point. Good segment, Steve. Electrical, you think of electrical guys? I don't know, I think of fires and
Well,
safety.
Where I like to use, where I like to use Steve for inspections is for anybody that's ever built before. We're talking new construction. If you ever built before, you've got your walkthrough.
Yeah.
A week before with the builder, you put blue tape up and you find all the problems. Well, as a a person, I don't really know what to look for, except obviously there's a discoloration of color or whatever. So I always have Steve out to go through the entire home, and then all you do is add everything to the punch list because they're going to do the punch list anyways. And all of a sudden now you've got, like, one of the things that sticks out for me was I won't say the builder, but it was a big box builder, and they had not dog-eared any of their flashing on their windows. Is that correct to call flashing? They didn't dog-ear them, so they were just open. And so when it rained, water would just pour behind the window.
Oh,
Well,
boy.
if he hadn't done it, we wouldn't have caught that.
Yeah, little things like that. Good stuff, good points. Again, first segment, we talked about inventory in the Twin Cities, still historically low, about 10,000 listings for sale in the Twin Cities. Rates have dropped over the summertime into the low sixes. We're seeing a few more buyers come out of the woodwork, but overall pending sales are also down still. So a little bit slower. Market time's increasing. More sellers, agents are saying, hey, what's going on? Stuff's not selling as fast. We're not getting as much activity. Scott, a little more normal. I would say just a little more normal.
I'd agree with that. It's a little more normal without people knowing it's normal before they list their house. That's
Sure.
the problem.
Sure.
Is, right now we know, we've gotten beat up. Like I hadn't had a price reduction in 3 years. Now I've had 3. Because we're all going off of numbers that used to be legit, and they're not. There's a fallback a little bit, and so we're all learning that now. Once we learn we're past that curve, which I think we're at right now, people are being a little bit less greedy with what they're trying to get because they saw their neighbor's house take 4 months to sell.
Yeah.
And so more of a normal market. And I think as we move into the winter and into the next spring, it will become a little bit more fine-tuned.
Bill just said, what do you guys think about buying a condo? Buying a condo, good, bad, and different.
I think it comes down to life situation.
Yes,
Where are you at in your life? What do it's just, that to me is the biggest driver.
So
Most people,
benefits of condo?
you don't take care of anything except for sweeping your floors.
It's a total lifestyle choice. If you're asking, are you better off buying a condo from an appreciation standpoint? No, you're not. You're better off buying a single family home. But that's not normally why people buy their condo. They buy it because it's less expensive sometimes. They buy it because it gives them ease, like Steve was saying.
Ease of use.
Ease of use.
Yep. All right, here we go. We're going back live on air on WCCO. Welcome back to the final segment of the Minnesota Real Estate Show. Mike Overson of Luminate Home Loans, Scott Wolmering, and myself, Ryan O'Neill, the Minnesota Real Estate Team, Remax Advantage Plus. Hope your weekend's going well, everyone. Again, Mike Overson and his team, Luminate Home Loans. They are also a local bank, Luminate Bank. Do a wonderful job. Mike has worked with our team, the Minnesota Real Estate Team, Scott, for I don't know, a number of years, 10 plus years, I think that Mike, we've all been working together.
At least I was going to say closer to 15, but just, and we don't say this just because he's our guy. He would not be our guy. I truly believe he is the best in the business at what he does. And his team is exceptional as well. So obviously you want the best rate that you can get. Everybody's going to price shop for that. You also want a smooth transaction. You don't want any hiccups. You don't want any, ooh, we missed this. Or, ooh, this is going to delay closing, and you don't get that one.
Yeah, I had another question coming in. Do you guys do a lot of work with seniors?
I don't particularly like older people.
You're terrible.
I'm totally kidding. I am an older person. We do a lot with seniors. I don't know if anybody actually specifically tries to work with seniors, but yeah, we do.
Yeah, we do. We do a lot. There's a number of really good 55 plus communities throughout the Twin Cities. And we have agents really that have worked with all ages of people.
My last 3 out of 4 sales were 82, a couple that were both 83 and 85, and my last sale is 87. So yeah.
So were they downsizing,
Yes.
or were they moving? What?
So the situation on the first was they were actually moving out of their townhome to move to an assisted living.
Okay.
We had a long discussion about that. I actually tried to get it rented so they could stay there. It ended up working better for them to do the assisted living, so we did that. The one that's closing next week, were long time clients of mine, lived in Florida, some health problems. They're going to move back closer to their son, referred out their house in Minnesota. They bought the home.
Or referred in Florida.
I'm sorry, in Florida. And then they bought their home here. And the third was, downsizing from a 2-story going to a slab on grade in Chaska.
Yeah. So again, certainly we work with all ages, all different folks wherever you're at in the process itself. Again, this may seem like common sense. Just be sure whoever you are hiring as a real estate broker and as a real estate agent is low pressure, and there's no timeline. There's no rush through the process. You, your family, you drive the process, the speed of the process, everything about it. Your agent or your broker does not do that. And so some of the agents on the Minnesota real estate team, we've been working with people for 2 years, 4 years, 8 years, longer without actually having the transaction they've done. That's okay. That's fine. It's not like going into Best Buy and buying a TV. You don't go in, make a quick purchase and walk out. That isn't the way this job works. So be sure you have that conversation with your agent. The only reason I bring that up, Scott, is when I was a first-time home buyer and going through the process, a couple of the other agents that were working with me I know they needed to make a sale, but I just didn't feel always super comfortable through the process.
Yeah, we always tell our agents that nobody has a reason to buy something just because you have a reason to sell something. So if you keep that in mind, no one has a reason to buy something just because you have a reason to sell something. Tara Cardenas sticks out of my mind. She's a great agent on the team. Just closed with a radio client that she's been working with for 4 years.
Yeah.
4 years, and they finally it was now the right time, and
They're buying or selling?
They bought
Okay.
and sold. So sold their house and then bought.
Yeah, very nice. Very nice. Again, throughout the week, 612-294-6949 is how you can interrupt us, join us, ask any questions, comments, thoughts, wherever you are listening as well. A lot of times people ask, do you know certain areas? So our team, the Minnesota Real Estate Team, is a group we're over 200 agents all over Minnesota and Western Wisconsin. So you'd be surprised. People will say, hey, you have somebody in Duluth?
We got a guy.
Paul Delkauer.
Yes, Paul Delkauer.
It's a good group, Scott. It's a good group of like-minded people who are focused on the customer.
Yes.
That's the key. That we're focused on the customer.
Yeah, we've been that way for years. When Ryan and I worked together back in the early 2000s, our premise at that time was to give information to the consumer without expecting anything in return. That was literally our motto. So our website, everything that we put out there was to give information without expecting them to work with us. And of course, the mindset was hopefully they will. I mean, hopefully they'll meet us and they think that we're professional enough to work with us, but there is no pressure, and there still is absolutely no pressure.
Steve Stalock, appreciate you coming on today, buddy. Last thoughts for listeners. You provided a lot of good information regarding home inspections here today.
Last thoughts, if you are out there putting in an offer, get in touch with the home inspector and get on their calendar.
Yep, very good. Steve Stalock, again, also known as the Handsome Bald Guy. We keep talking about buying that website, handsomebaldguy.org.
That's right.
All right, so one of these days I'll go look into it.
Scott, what do you think, bud? Last thoughts.
This is the time, again, we've been talking about the perfect storm in a positive way coming up. This is the time that you call your real estate agent. If you are in a situation where you are going to be moving in the next 2 to 3 years, that's going to happen. This is the time to discuss with your agent, what is your sale price right now? What is going to happen if rates drop into the 4.5s in 2 years? Is that good for you? Is that not good for you? Are you better off to cash out of your property now and speed your process up? Or are you better off to slow down? So if you trust your agent, and again, that there's no pressure and they're going to give you the real scoop, find out situationally where you sit right now, because there's going to be a drastic change here in the next 6 months, in my belief.
Yeah, be sure to get out. Parade of homes going on all over the Twin Cities area. Seeing a lot of open houses. as well. Be sure to get out to open houses too, Scott.
Yeah, I got a couple texts that said, Scott, I missed the number of your favorite on the parade. It is number 113. It is in Lakeville, and it is a Country Joe. And Jen Thompson, our great friend, is actually the agent there. Great house.
Yeah, again, Scott, good job. Nice work.
You too.
Nice work as well. Steve, great job, buddy.
Hey, have a great weekend.
Yeah, again, every Saturday, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m., we are here at the Minnesota Real Estate Show. mnrealestateshow.com is where you can find all of our partners there as well. Maybe you are looking for a home inspector like Steve. Maybe you're looking for a lender. Maybe you're looking for a home warranty company, an accountant, an attorney, a financial planner. These are people that have been part of the Minnesota Real Estate Show and the Minnesota Real Estate team for as long as we've done the show, literally almost 20 years. Very good people, customer focused. Don't hesitate to check them out, really whatever category you might be thinking. They really do a nice job. And Scott, it's a great list of folks.
Yeah, it is. And reach out to us too. There's a button on our site called Ask the Big Brains. We have a lot of people. We just had a homeowner that was going to do a remodel and
Yep.
reached out for some information, and we were able to put her in touch with people. So yeah, we're a resource that way too.
Yep, absolutely. Again, appreciate you joining us on the Minnesota Real Estate Show. Again, we're going to be back next Saturday at 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. And if you're thinking of buying, selling, investing in real estate, or you just have any questions at all, please don't ever hesitate to reach out. Hope you and your families enjoy the rest of this weekend. A big thanks to Josh for coming in to produce the show. Take care, everybody. Thank you. Thanks, folks, for joining us on social media. Nice work, Steve.
Hey, it was a good show.
TheHandsomeBaldGuy.org. Scott, good show, dude.
Yeah, you too. Thanks everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. We're going to be back next week, everyone. Enjoy the weekend. Appreciate you joining.